later in this episode.
I gotta get into this finale now. So it starts off, they're in this factory, trying to go save Sammo, and Yoon starts it off big time. He's jumping around everywhere. He's fighting like 10, 15 guys at once, jumping all through the factory, jumping through windows, kicking guys through windows. It's crazy. It has to be seen to be believed.
That's correct. We're back, and we're better than ever. Today on the Supercast, Dragons Forever. Enjoy.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Supercast, and I am the Superfosh. He is Stevesy, and it's good to be back, man. It's been a minute since we've done one of these, dude.
Yeah, it's been a bit, just because, I mean, you know how it is around the holidays.
Yeah.
Then after that, a bunch of stuff started creeping up, and we had a bunch of delays, a bunch of rescheduling. But here we are. We're finally doing it, and this is a good one to start off the year with.
Yeah, this is, of course, Dragons Forever, and this is the Year of the Dragon, and if you don't know what that means, we'll definitely explain it to you, or better yet, my buddy Stevesy will here. Yeah, man, what's the Year of the Dragon all about? And tell the people.
Well, in case you don't know, if you're not culturally into it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so, like, it's part of the Chinese zodiac, which pretty much most East Asian countries kind of celebrate, is this Chinese New Year, Spring Festival, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, we've just entered the Year of the Dragon, which is pretty cool year for the most part. Last time we had one was 2012, and I remember that being a pretty good year. What about you?
Yeah, man, it's been a minute since then, but yeah, definitely. And this movie is really, really cool. Obviously, my buddy Stevesy here, who is our expert, all things martial arts films, and let's get into it and talk about this film and why we're featuring it here on Supercast.
I mean, first off, the reason why it's called Dragons Forever is because this was the Chinese New Year movie for the year of 1988, and it's bringing our three dragons, which we've talked about on here before, the Yun Biao, Sammo Hung, and Jackie Chan, of course. Those three brothers, the three dragons, coming together for their final film together, and that's the part that's kind of bittersweet to me, but other than that, I really love this film, and I'm glad you got to finally check it out.
Yeah, definitely. If you're new to the program, Stevesy and I have been reviewing a lot of Jackie Chan's films and some other people's, and we definitely wanted to do this one, like you said, in remembrance, or in celebration, I should say, of the Year of the Dragon. And I gotta say, man, if you guys who are watching this have never seen this film, do yourself a favor and go watch it. It's a good time to do so. Very entertaining film, a lot to get to, and I'm going to give it to my man here, Stevesy, to kind of set us up and talk about it. We will have probably some spoilers, so, if you haven't watched the film and you don't want to get spoiled, then press pause, go watch it, and come back. We'll still be here, I promise. But go ahead, Steve, set us up, man.
Yeah, so like I said, it's the three dragons, the three brothers come together. These guys went to Peking Opera School together and basically went through hell together. I mean, I'm pretty sure I've told you about their training before, have I?
Right. Yep. I think so.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, these guys were getting up at 5 a.m. as kids and just training for hours a day. How to sing, how to dance, how to do kung fu, do it all. And that's, I think, how they're able to make a movie like this, because this is a movie that is pure entertainment. I mean, if you're familiar with Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung in the 80s, it's kind of like its own genre, almost like a film, because this one blends comedy, it blends action, and it brings in some romance into this one, which is not typical for them. I mean, yeah, they usually have love interests and stuff, but this one, it really
Right.
seems like it centers around it. And that's kind of what I like about it is it is trying to do its own unique thing. It's not trying to do Wheels on Meals Part 2 or something like that. It's,
Right.
it's trying to do its own thing. And I think that's why some people don't like it as much. Because, sometimes if people get outside their lanes, people get kind of irritated about it. But to me, I just love this one a lot. I think it's, I've got the 4K from 88 Films. And to me, it's just very great the way it looks and the way it's shot. I guess that's where I want to start off is Hong Kong. I think they capture the city beautifully in this movie, and it just creates its own little unique vibe of 1980s Hong Kong. This is kind of what it was like, I guess, but it's sort of its own film version of it. What did you think about the setting of this one?
Yeah, definitely. It gets you into the idea of where this film is. It's obviously in Hong Kong, and beautiful city, by the way. Really shot well, and just looks inviting. This entire film, and I know my man Steve here will elaborate a little bit, but this entire film is shot. You said what? 88, 1988. This came out. I mean, it's really held up very, very well as far as the cinematic look of the film. And that's something that all of these films, and we've talked about it in other episodes, is all of these films are really done with great care as far as setting the scene, establishing, I guess the look and the feel of what they want, and they have a clear vision of how these movies go. And I like what you said a minute ago, that this film is kind of different than some of these others. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like this film was maybe not as serious, maybe a little, I don't want to say goofy or funny, but it definitely has some comedic moments. But take it from there, dude, and give us your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. That's one of the things I was saying. Like, they basically invented their own genre here. This is very silly, and especially parts of it are just like Looney Tunes, Three Stooges, whatever sort of comparison you want to make. It gets to that point, but this one's different. It actually gets kind of like dark and harsh toward the end, which
It does.
The first time I watched it, I didn't like that part as much, but the more I watched this film, the more I thought about it, the more I liked it, because they definitely do create this vibe, like I was saying, of 1980s Hong Kong. Like, they bring you in with the music, that synth music. It's just magic to me, and it just puts me in a good mood every time I watch it. So that's really the appeal to me, is how it blends all this stuff together and just it'll liven up your day, no matter what kind of day you're having. So let's get into it for real. Let's get into the actors, the three brothers, if you will. I'll start with Jackie, just because he's the reason most people tune in. He's the star. He's Jackie Lung. He's a lawyer, and he's playing his Jackie character normal. Like, he's still goofy. He's still kind of silly. He plays off the comedy very well. But at the same time, the way he's written his character, it's a little bit different. What did you think about just this lawyer character that Jackie's playing in this one?
It's definitely a different side of Jackie that I think even, especially us American filmgoers are used to seeing him. We're used to seeing the comedic styles, of course, the kung fu stuff. But this guy's a little more serious. This guy is a little bit more hard edge. And credit where credit's due. I mean, he really plays up all of that really well. And, you want to hate the guy, but it's Jackie Chan, so you can't completely, or at least I couldn't. I mean, it's just, there's definitely, especially toward the beginning, I think he like slaps a girl or something like that. And you're just like, okay, Jackie, that's what we're doing. All right, cool. But it took me aback a little bit because, like I said, I'm used to the comedic guy and kind of lightheartedness, and that's not this character. But again, to his credit, he plays it really, really well. And even though he's probably not the nicest guy in the world, but a good performance for Jackie. A little bit of a departure, but he can do it because he's Jackie Chan, for goodness sake.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting into. Is like this is different. He's not a likable guy at first. I mean, like you said, he hits a woman the very first scene you see him in. He saves her first.
Yes.
He saves her from possibly terrible things happen to her. But then he strikes her, and you're just like, what? And that's where I was at first. And then it turns out he's this womanizer. He's hitting on all the girls. He works for the bad guys. He does beat up the one bad guy that he gets off from possibly going to jail, but he's still defending him. That's his thing. He's a lawyer. He's kind of scummy, but I think as the film goes on, he changes a lot, and that's why I like it a lot, is because it actually, his character has an arc to it, and he's doing the normal Jackie stuff like we've been saying. He still has those great comedic times, especially the scene where he's trying to hide the other two guys in his room while trying to get his date out the door. I'll come back to that scene later, but he's brilliant in all that stuff. And a guy that almost steals the show for me, just because I love Sammo. Sammo Hung, he's also playing a sort of different character, because normally if you watch him, he's sort of like the likable loser, if you will. At least that's always like to think about it. And in this one, he's not really. I think he taps into that a little bit, but he's an arms dealer at the beginning. He's this criminal, and Jackie pulls him in to do some dirty work for him.
呢支勁啦 ，M177 自動步槍，一排子彈15發，陸續有嚟，差佬見到都會掉頭走，冇點你嘅。過唔過到骨㗎？過唔到骨。
But I guess because it's Sammo Hung, we're just like, okay, yeah, this is fun. This is a good adventure. What do you think about Sammo in this?
Yeah, I think Sammo and Ewan, and we'll get to Ewan here in a minute, but I think these two guys really play off Jackie well. When you got these three guys and these three different personalities, but I think they all work well together. But as far as Sammo goes, they're an interesting combination. And all three of these guys, like I said, work really well, but especially Sammo. I think Sammo I think his character is probably my favorite of this film, but as we talk, I'll probably change my mind, a couple, 3 times, but I really liked his performance. I think he played off Jackie well, especially though.
Yeah, I think those two characters are really kind of intertwined, because they're both deceiving the women they're trying to seduce here at the beginning. Like Sammo, he's pretending to be the lovable, silly neighbor next door, but he's doing it because he's spying on the girl, and he wants to try to get her to sell her fishery. So he's trying to get Dina Yip to kind of like listen to him. He's using trickery, but I think as the film goes on, he changes. He becomes, I guess it's that scene with the megaphone after he pretty much makes a fool of himself out there in the middle of everybody, and kind of just says, okay, I think I kind of like this girl, because he starts dancing with her the next scene. He's acting like a goofball, and I think he eventually changes. I think he gets to get a heart of gold toward the end, and same thing happens to Jackie's character. He starts off as like, I'm a womanizer, I'm trying to get with everybody, but whenever he sees Pauline Young's character, he just kind of changes right there. He's like, oh, this lady is amazing. And then I guess as he starts dating her more, he's just like, oh my gosh, I'm just head over heels for this girl. And I think that's a big part of this film, is how those two guys change. But I guess we should get to our third guy before we get into that too much. So Yuen Biao or Yuen Biu, two different pronunciations for his name. But he doesn't have the best character in this one. And it's mainly because a lot of his scenes got cut. I love his character. His character is probably the funniest of the three, because he just says random stuff. His apartment's decorated in random ways, and he gets a lot of comedic moments in here, but he doesn't go through the arc like the other characters. He's kind of already actually realized. What do you think about what they did with Yoon's character and just how he plays it?
Yeah, I like what you said a minute ago, because there's not a lot to his character. I felt like there is the other two that we've talked about. So I really felt like there should have been more. You said some stuff got cut, and I hate that for him, because I feel like there was a good character there, but I just don't think he I just don't think that character was as developed or as featured for whatever reason. And you may have an explanation for that, but he's definitely the one in my watching, and it's been about a week now, that I couldn't remember as much with him as you could Jackie and Samo. So I was a little disappointed in that, but I do felt like all three of these guys did have chemistry, and I think they all worked well. I just think Ewan got the shaft a little bit. I think his character, got the shaft because I think there was a lot of good stuff there to be praised that's in the film, but for whatever reason, I don't think there was enough.
Yeah, and I guess this gets into like, it's a positive but a negative about the film is his character's quirky. He's weird. He says random stuff. And it's because his character apparently is a little crazy. The scenes that get cut is him going to see a psychiatrist, and while he's there, he'll like ask him questions, and that's supposed to motivate him for the next scene, and that's why he's saying more random stuff the next scene. But if you don't have that context, it's in the Japanese version they include those scenes, but without it, it's just like, this guy's just random. And I'll have to come back to it a little bit later. That's one of my critiques about this film is just what they do with his character and how probably why he doesn't work with these guys again after this. But like you were saying, the three of them together on screen, it's great. I mean, they have a few scenes together, especially when they all unite in the bar and they're drinking the milk together. That's just one of those understated scenes that just works. Whether this is your first time watching this movie and you've never really seen a lot with these guys, you realize these guys are stars. Just looking at them, they can just sit there and they just jump off the screen. But then once you watch it again over and over, you're like, this is like hanging out with my bros right now. At least that's how I feel when I watch this.
喂，Jackie，你喺度啊？咁啱啊！俾華老闆拉住咗啊！你喺度冇咁悶㗎，一齊啊！順便介紹你識啊！好啊，嚟啊！你過去先，我一陣嚟啊！唔好意思啊，喂，你坐陣先啦。都係唔好啦，一齊去啊！一齊去。
Let's get into some more stuff here because obviously this is a big cast, a lot of spectacle to get to. We haven't even got into that yet. But I guess we were saying a big part of this film is the romantic aspect. We got Pauline Young, who plays Jackie's love interest, and Dina Ip, who plays girl that he gets into. And do you have anything to say about these fine women?
Oh my gosh, man. Like I said, I was probably going to change my mind 2-3 times because I just love their characters. I think they play off well. They've got these big stars that they're acting against, and they hold their own, in my opinion. I feel like that their performances were equal to the task of Jackie and Samo and Ewan, and you don't always see that a lot, whether it's on purpose or whatever. But they have talent. The women in this film are definitely nothing to sneeze at, and they're beautiful, but they're not just eye candy either. They're a lot more developed than you first think. There's a lot of things going on with their characters, and like I said, I feel like that they played off the men really well. You don't often think about the love story in films like this, or at least I don't, because that can go. It can drag the movie down, in my opinion, because it just feels forced or it feels cliche or whatever. But in my experience with this film in particular, I really felt like that they played off the guys so well that the love story actually did help, progress the plot and make this film as entertaining as it was. So, hats off to them for sure.
Totally agree with you about all that you just said. I think that's what makes it work is the women are strong. They're competent.
Yes.
They put these guys in their place at times. They make them feel like they're stupid, and because they pretty much are, especially at the beginning of the film. Jackie and Samo's guys they're just clueless. They're not the best people. These women kind of straighten them up and make them respectable. But I love how you said that the romance doesn't always work in a lot of these films. And this one, on the surface, it doesn't, because I mean, they just have one montage of 80s cheesy synth music, and then they're in love. But to me, it actually kind of works after that scene on the beach after Pauline makes Jackie look stupid. I buy them coming together.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I think, a lot of people that sit down and watch this, they're like, there's not enough action. If a lot of people, when they tune into a Jackie Chan film, that's what they want. Just tons and tons of action. And this one, it's not about that. It's about just entertaining people. It's about, and if that's kind of the big thing, is it combines so many different tones. It's mostly comedy, I would say, mostly lighthearted, but the action comes in, and when it comes in, it's really, really good. What did you think about the different tones we have offered in this film?
And that's the thing when you watch these films, especially if you're like me and you're sort of just getting your feet wet with these kinds of films, you don't know really what to expect, and you don't know really if there's going to be a lot more comedy, if it's going to be dark, and the darkness that you mentioned at the beginning was definitely surprising. And I've watched this movie twice since you told me about it. And the first time I watched this film, that darkness was definitely surprising. It didn't quite work the first viewing. And I think you said the same thing. But when you watch this film and you understand the entirety of this plot, I think it does work. And so, if you're not, and again, we said spoiler warning, if you're not expecting the darkness, it may throw you off a little bit. But I think it does work.
Wait here. Stop fighting!
Now your nose is bleeding.
What's that? My nose? You've been drinking. Bye.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it's here to entertain you. That's the big thing. I keep saying that.
It's true.
The two scenes, as far as comedy, that just kind of stand out to me is the two scenes where these guys are just beating each other up, or these guys are just going at each other. It's whenever Jackie's having Pauline over for this first date. They're sitting down to eat their steak, and all of a sudden, he hears a noise in the other room. So he goes to investigate, and there's Yoon just hanging out. And then all of a sudden, Sammo shows up, and then basically he's trying to keep these two guys hidden while they're beating each other up in his room. And then he rushes her out the door after, I'm sure she's like, what the heck? We took 2 bites out of my steak? What are you doing?
Yep.
And then he comes back to the door. She's like, I forgot my jacket. He's got a black eye now. They just come next time. He's got a bloody nose. He's like, oh. So I love that scene. And I love the scene where they all three fight each other in the parking lot. That's just, it's like a 40-second fight, but it is unreal watching these guys go. And just equal action, equal comedy. It's like, imagine if the Three Stooges did more than just, the classic 2 fingers to the eye, or if they could
exactly
handle themselves. That's what you get in this movie. But then we have insane action sequences, like the scene on the boat. I still don't see how they do some of that stuff. And I also feel bad for all the stuntmen falling down the stairs and through windows and stuff. It's crazy. But then the scene at the end, we got to come back to it later. The climax, that last whole sequence in the factory is just unreal. So it goes hard. Action's amazing. But like we said, it gets kind of dark. And I guess we get that with our villain, Yoon Wah, he's this gangster who wears these big old rimmed glasses, and he's always smoking a cigar. So that in itself is very silly. Yeah. But then the first time we see him, he just has his henchmen just shoot this guy for no reason. And it kind of lets you know what we're getting into. This is going to be a little bit darker. To me, the darkest part is where they are torturing Sammo's character, and they're injecting him with heroin, getting him ridiculously high, and nearly kills him. And that's a little too much for a movie like this, in my opinion. But I think when you take in the whole scope of the whole film, what it's trying to go for, it kind of works.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. The thing you're not expecting is a noir film with this. But I think that when this villain shows up, there is definitely a noirish feeling. I think he would fit really, really well in like a 1940s noir film. And I don't think again, I think he's fleshed out pretty well. I would like to see some more of him, but I think the actor, as far as his performance is concerned, I think, again, and I've said it with the women, I've said it with the three guys together, the chemistry with all these people is off the charts. I mean, they have everything. You talked about the fighting, and I likened it to a dance. It's choreography. Obviously, they're not really trying to kill each other. At least I don't think so. So these things have to be choreographed, just like a dance. And I think you can't say enough about how they can go from silly to, just straight up like bloody. There's a scene at the beginning of the film where there's like a big shootout that you're not expecting. Like I said, I was just sitting down and I'm like, oh, okay, the action's already started. They don't ease you into that at all. And I like that. I think the pacing, we haven't really talked about the pacing and some of the particulars, but I think that's one thing that drew me to this film. And I've told you several times before we shot this, is that this movie is a very quickly paced film, and it's just boom, boom, boom. And I like that. I think that really works. And I think that's why the darkness, and I think the change in tone works, is because you're not too much into the silliness. There's a little bit, and it works and everything, but then it gets to the dark stuff with the villain, and just knocks it out of the park. You can't really say anything bad. At least I can't. About the way this film is paced.
Yeah, pacing's really good. I was thinking while you're talking that there was one part that kind of slows down a little bit, and that's the whole trial.
Yeah.
But then I was thinking about what are they cutting with that? That's when they're having Yoon and Sammo breaking into the factory. So seeing that happen, that's progressing the plot a little bit, while this whole thing with Jackie and Pauline's happening in the courtroom. And that scene in itself, it's cheesy as can be. Or he has to make her basically profess on the court stand that she loves him and everything. It's cheesy, but I love it. I mean, that's why we're here, is for that cheesiness.
We're waiting for your judgment.
I love you.
One guy that's not cheesy is Benny the Jet, your kid is. We were talking about how everything's a dance. Yes, it is for when most of these guys are fighting. I think, especially, I was mentioning Yu Hua earlier, the guy that fights with a cigar in his mouth. You can tell he's good at what he's doing and is well choreographed. But when Benny comes on there, it gets kind of vicious. It gets stakes go up. It gets a lot harder edge. And I guess it's because he was a real fighter. Jackie got him because he's a guy that he knew could take a punch in real life. And they are basically going at each other. I don't know if they went as hard as they did in Wheels on Mills, where they were basically like nearly put each other in the hospital. But they definitely, that fight at the end between those two guys, it is vicious. Benny the Jet, I mean, have you ever seen a better henchman? I mean, he doesn't say anything hardly. He just, apparently he does drugs and then he goes out there and fights. It's just kind of weird.
Yeah, he talks with his fist, man. His whole thing is the fighting, and I like that. I mean, it kind of reminded me of like a Bond villain or something like that, a Bond henchman. Just a big fighter, and he doesn't say a whole lot, like you said, but he doesn't need to. He just lets his fist do the talking. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's a classic. I don't know how it stacks up to the Wheels on Mills fight. I'm not going to do that to here. We're here just to talk about this movie and how fun it is, how magical it is. And that gets us to the action. The action, top notch. I mean, of course it is. It's Sammo and Corey Yuen directing, co-directing this, I should say. And those two guys, I don't know if there's better guys out there as far as choreographing it and then editing it. Like, that's the thing, is you got to be able to shoot it in a neat way and edit together in a way that's going to pull the audience in. And to me, that's where this film really shines. That's what kind of blew my mind the first time I watched this, was that fight on the boat. Like, have you ever seen an action scene or a fight shot like that?
Yeah, it's unbelievable how they got some of these shots, and I can't even imagine, how tiring it was to shoot these kind of things. But then, as you mentioned, the editing to kind of keep up with this pacing, I think that was the way to do it. I think you can't stay too long on something, and yeah, it's bloody, and yeah, it's pretty brutal at times, as you mentioned earlier. But I think the way this thing is cut and shot together is brilliant, and I think that they had a clear vision of what they wanted with this film. And it's got its flaws, and we can talk about a couple things here in a second. But I think overall, the story isn't maybe the greatest story ever, but the action, oh man, I think that's the biggest thing that I took away from this film is the set pieces, the action pieces, and these fightings. You know, you had the fight at the beginning, and then you had like you said, the boat thing. It's just incredible, and it's just a spectacle. So if you're looking for something like that, man, and you haven't seen this and you're still watching because we're kind of spoiling everything, do yourself a favor and go watch it, because it's incredible the way that they choreograph some of these fights, and it definitely looks real. Definitely looks like some people are going at it for real, and that was impressive to me. Almost more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, because like you're saying, it feels real. It feels like these are real punches, and they are. I mean, these guys are wailing on each other, and I think that's part of the thing. Like the worst thing that can happen in an action movie is like every fight seems the same. It's very monotonous.
Yeah.
To me, all of these feel different, and it's all different by who's fighting too. I got to get into this finale now because it's both the best part, but at the same part, it's where I get to my biggest critique of the film.
Right.
So it starts off, they're in this factory trying to go see Sammo, and Yoon starts it off big time. He's jumping around everywhere. He's fighting like 10, 15 guys at once, jumping all through the factory, jumping through windows, kicking guys through windows. It's crazy. It has to be seen to be believed. Live like video game character or something. Like, how does he do that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that factory scene in particular blew me away, man. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, it was incredible. As we said, the fighting was really. I think that it shows that they really took their time and really wanted to make something specific, because a lot of this stuff you're just like, I have no idea, A, what I'm watching right now, and B, how they did this. I mean, I couldn't explain it to you. It's like you said, you have to watch this to believe, because we can talk about it all day. We're not, but we talk about it all day. But man, especially toward the end, it's incredible. Some of the stuff they were able to put in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, because he kills it, and then this is the part that I don't like. So he does this one fight, he takes out the other main guy that he was fighting, and then Benny shows up and one-shots him. And I just don't see that happening in any other movie, because we've always seen Jackie and Yoon, they're like on equal levels, especially in Wheels on Mills. They were like they were viewed as equals. But this makes it look like Jackie's just so much stronger, because he goes and fights Benny, and they have a fight of all fights. It's a duel. They get smashed through everything. They fall into boxes. It's pretty epic. And I don't want to take anything away from that fight. I think it's awesome. But to me, I just hated what they did with his character right here at the end of this, where they're just like, oh, he's just going to be out for this final fight. He's going to be knocked out. And I guess it goes with the story. It goes to give Jackie his moment. But I don't know. That's the one part I don't really like. As we were saying, we don't get much with him. He doesn't get a girl. He probably should get Jackie's assistant, Crystal Kwok. I think that would have been a lot better, because that would have been pretty much completed the movie and made it even better for me. But are there any lingering things, any final thoughts you have about this one?
I mean, and not to repeat myself, but I just really felt like that this film did a lot of things well, with the pacing, with the choreography, these fights. Love story, I think the love story for me Did not click the first time, as we said, but definitely the second time. And as far as that ending, it didn't bother me too bad. I just felt like that, as you said, Jackie was definitely going to get, his moment to shine, especially here towards the end. So all in all, I think it was a very enjoyable experience. I think the movie gets better with each viewing, and I think the ladies did a fantastic job. I think their characters were really well done and really good performances. So all in all, a lot of fun for this film.
I echo everything you're saying, especially the part about the more you watch it, the better it gets. I've seen this movie probably 8 times in the past 8 months or so. I watch it at least once a month. And every time I do, it's just like going out, hanging out with my friends. This is a world that I really like to go revisit. This is a group of characters I love hanging out with. And like you said, there are some glaring sort of things that are not the best as far as story and stuff. But the more you watch it, the more you realize, you know what, this movie's a little bit deeper than I gave it credit for. The stuff they're doing with the characters, and as far as like making Yoon's character be the enlightened one, that he's the one that had it right the whole long, even though he's saying crazy stuff. That really resonates with me more though I watch it. I'm just like, yeah, it's pretty cool. I love how they wrote these characters. And this was an end of era. This was the last time they collaborated together, all three of them. I don't know if it's because this one didn't do as well at box office or just because they left on a bad note. I mean, I know they're still brothers. They still love each other today, but I just hated that this was the last time they ever got together and did something like this.
Yeah, that's sad. But hey, man, speaking of hanging out with friends, and you guys are our friends too. You guys watching, we really do appreciate that. But we've taken a little break, as we said at the top of this episode. But man, we got some good stuff coming up, don't we, man?
We do. We are going to go in pretty much the same lanes, but we're also going to deviate a little bit. We're going to try out some new stuff with the channel, so that'll be great. And
Yep.
Luckily, I mean, yeah, our show is going to continue on. And if you guys haven't seen this film yet that we just got done talking about, go do yourself a favor. Go watch it. It really is forever. It's Dragons Forever. Go check it out. It's wonderful. And what do you have for us next time? Heard you got a movie that you want us to check out.
Yeah, man, this is a classic. This is a film that I grew up on, you grew up on. Yes, guys, we are going to visit Dick Tracy and see what he's all about. It's a Warren Beatty classic. I love this film. You love this film. I'm excited to talk about it. And I had a lot of fun talking about this film. Are you excited for Dick Tracy, dude? Come on.
I am definitely excited. I love the colors. I love just how crazy this film is. So that'll be a lot of fun to talk about.
Most definitely, man. As we said at the top, thank you so much for joining us here on the Supercast. If you haven't done so already, if you like this, give us a like. Follow us on YouTube and follow us on X at Supercast with a Z. Let us know what you think about martial arts films or Dick Tracy or whatever. We are fans of a lot of different stuff, as you'll come to find out if you're just finding us here on the Tube of You. But really thank you so much for being with us here on this episode, and we'll see you guys next time on the Supercast. Take care.